Hey guys, it's Mario here, bringing you the part 3 in our series on how do you trick your brain to eat less food and feel fuller on a diet. And in this series, as you guys know, we're exploring evidence-based, science-based tools and methods that will allow us to make this happen automatically, to design our diets and our lifestyles, to be able to stick to that diet and make it more sustainable. And in this part, I want to explore distracted eating. And I'm pretty sure you already have an idea what distracted eating is. And in today's world, it is a big problem. It was a huge problem for me, and it still is. I still have to remind myself to be more mindful when it comes to consuming food. And this is a big part of it, right? So what is distracted eating? I mean, generally, if you have your phone, let's say, next to a plate, or if you're browsing through while you're eating, you're watching TV while you're eating, you're doing something else while you're eating. Basically, you're trying to multitask while at the same time consuming food. And as you probably see around you, this is happening all the time. And most people are doing this, and it's becoming a routine, it's become a habit for a lot of people. And if we look at the research, what does research have to say on this? There was a really good review paper from 2012 from the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition, where they looked at about 24 studies looking at what happens when people eat when they watch TV versus when they just eat food without being distracted. And there was two great findings from this nice review, and that was that, number one, people would eat less food if they weren't distracted. So while you're distracted, you're basically consuming more calories. The second big finding of this is that you would consume more calories in the next meal if you were distracted with this current meal that you're consuming, right? So overall, throughout the day, if you're eating all your meals very distracted, in a rush, in a hurry, you would eat more food if, of course, you weren't controlling every single portion with all these tools like MyFitnessPal, which is a great tool. As I always say, you can count every gram and be sure, but how can we automate the process without having to count and being so OCD with all these things? So yeah, distracted eating is bad. I mean, if we look at all the research, all the studies, and intuitively, if you think about it, it is not a good idea just to go through your meal in 2 minutes. And I've been certainly, I had a lot of issues with this, and I'm to blame as well. If I'm on a diet, let's say in the last stage of the diet, and I'm shedding off those final couple of pounds of body fat, eating about 1,700 calories a day, you come back from a workout, you just go through your meal in 2 minutes. Like, you don't even know what's going on. You don't even chew the food. And practicing mindful eating was a huge game changer for me. When I was on a diet, and in general when I'm on a diet, I have to remind myself to do this, otherwise I'm gonna be feeling a lot more hungry, and I'm not gonna even enjoy the food at all, right? I'm just gonna completely destroy my relationship with food and not even appreciate the fact that I have access to the food and to be able to enjoy it. So how do we practice mindful eating? What are some of the steps, and what is kind of the system that I use to? Well, basically, it comes down to small steps, right? So mindful eating itself, it is actually quite a tough habit to get into, and it's not that easy. A lot of people will say, well, I'm gonna do it, and then they try to do it for a day or two, and then they go back instantly to their old habits. It's actually quite hard. So my suggestion is to do small steps, do baby steps. And how I started was, I basically said, I'm gonna do the first meal of the day, and I'm just gonna try to eat that meal slower. And if you let's say if you're particularly busy and if you have a really hectic lifestyle, you can just say one meal of the week. Let's say your Sunday lunch, or your Sunday breakfast, or your dinner with your family on like a Saturday or Friday or something like that. Pick one. If you can adhere to it every single day, it's important to find something that is sustainable. For me, it was sustainable to do the meal one before I read all the emails, before I do all these things that would distract me and really add to my to-do list. I would sit down and I would make sure that I eat slower. And some of the tools that I've used is I try to count my, like how many times I chew the food. I also try to eat with my non-dominant hand, so I'm right-handed, and I would eat with my left hand, which was naturally slowing it down. I would also lay down the fork and the knife, let's say after every couple of bites. That was also very helpful. In general, I would use smaller forks, and smaller spoons. That as well was very helpful. But the best thing I found really to kind of get me into mindful eating was that I realized that how much of this mindfulness will improve my life overall. Because it's not just about being mindful when you eat food, it's in general training you to be more focused and to be more in the moment. So I looked at it as at the same time, I'm kind of meditating while I'm eating food, right? I'm being more mindful in general. And this became a sort of a ritual of mine to practice mindfulness. And I believe it led to an increase of happiness. I believe it really brought some joy to my life, and it allowed me to express more gratitude because I was getting back into the moment. And I know that kind of sounds cheesy and in today's world, but we're so distracted and we don't even know what's going on. Like most of our days just go in a rush in such a stressful environments. We don't even know what the hell is going on, and we don't know what we're eating, we don't know what's happening to us, and time flies fast. And if you talk to most people, they're just gonna say, well, I don't know what I did this week, and just the time went by. And a little bit of mindfulness, even if it's through food at first, it is a huge step forward. I know a lot of people struggle with building the meditation habit and doing all these things. This is kind of a way you can get into that as well. So I think mindful eating is really a great step if you're interested in taking your life to the next level, becoming more happier in general, becoming more productive. Focus is the new IQ, as Cal Newport says, and I love his stuff. He is kind of the productivity master. So 100% agree with that. I mean, our focus in today's age is the most valuable skill you can have, and this will make you more productive in your life in general. So I hope you guys enjoyed. I mean, the bottom line here is practice mindful eating, slow down, allow those signals to really reach your brain. As they say, it takes about 15-20 minutes for those satiety signals to really kick in. There is some truth to that. There are certain responses that take a while to get from the gut to the brain, and it is a big deal when you're on a diet, and it is a big help for you to stick to that diet and make it more sustainable. So I hope you enjoyed this third part in the series. Let me know in the comments below how you resonated with this, and aside from that, make sure to hit that subscribe button below to support the channel, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.